Hello and welcome into our third episode of the NHL Roundup podcast. I'm Shane Stanley, joined again by John Hepstone and Max Hunt.
Hey, glad to be back.
Hey.
So we had a bit of a break here for the last two series.
Copycat.
We wanted to get something in here before the finals. So I guess we'll go ahead and we'll kind of go over the second and third rounds, do a bit of a recap on them, try our best to go through now. A little bit of game by game, then just a summary of the whole series, and then we'll get into our very difficult to pick finals prediction, which we were kind of going over a bit before we just started here, and a lot of us don't know which way we're going yet, so should be an interesting discussion between the three of us to see who we're going to pick. I had mine made before I got here, but it did take some thought, but the other two guys here were getting into a little bit of a debate about it.
I already had my answer. I've had mine for... Well, as soon as both the series were over, I was like, okay.
We were shooting the shit, and Shane was just like, Jesus, just hit the play button.
I was like, this is good content.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so we'll, before we get there, we'll backtrack now to the second round. So I believe we were doing the West first the past couple times we'll get on. So we'll start with Edmonton and Calgary. So the way we decided, I'll kind of go game through game here, and then we'll kind of give a summary over what's going on. So game one, we'll probably want a little bit of conversation about this one because this is one of the wildest games I've ever seen in my life.
This was nuts.
That was the 9-6.
9-6, yeah. So, I mean, we'll get to the third round now shortly, but Edmonton and game ones are just friggin' nuts. So, goals for Calgary in the first couple minutes. They were up 2-0. Richie made it 3-0. Coleman made it 4-1. And Coleman again made it 5-1. So, Calgary had complete control of the game. Ended up being 6-2, and then Edmonton had a crazy comeback. 2 goals from Hyman, Draisaitl, and Yamamoto tied the game at 6-6. Shortly after, Anderson got a goal right back to make it 7-6, and then Tkachuk got 2 more to make it 9-6 for the final. So it's a pretty wild game. Obviously not a goaltender.
Goalies didn't show up.
Yeah. So I mean, this was, and oddly enough, this was the last game Calgary win all season. So, at least they gave their fans something fun before or it was all downhill. Because, can you imagine, being in attendance for that game?
That would be
just, such an up and down roller coaster because your team is up, 6-2. I mean, you've seen 6 goals, which is...
Every time you go get a hot dog, all you hear... the alarm going... Not the alarm, but the goal horn going out.
They were coming in bunches, too, so you'd probably miss, 3 goals if you wanted to use the bathroom or something. You didn't want to leave your seat for this one. Definitely not a goalie-friendly game, but, I mean, all offense, Edmonton's kind of style, go out there, we're going to score a bunch of goals, and, hopefully our goaltending can keep us in it a little bit, and this one just didn't work out that way. So moving to game 2, it was tied 3-3 after 2 periods. Zach Hyman ended up getting a shorthanded goal in the third period to make it 4-3. Hear his name coming up a lot in this series, and... for what offense did they get in the third round, too. His name came up a lot, so he had a pretty good playoff. Draisaitl got another one shortly after for Edmonton to tie up the series 1-1. So then they went back to Edmonton, and they got a hat trick from Kane in the second period. Another from Hyman again, and then they cruised in the third period to win. Smith bounced back game in this one. He stopped 32 out of 33, so Edmonton took a 2-1 series lead at that one. Markstrom had a very, very strong first round, and then he kind of took a step back in this series. Game 4, he was really, really shaky. Again, 4 goals. He gave up on 25 shots. Again, we're just talking about coming on here. If your goalie's only facing 25 shots in the playoffs, you expect, him to 1, maybe 2 get by him. Yeah. So for 4 to get past him,
you expect 850 save percentage,
anything in the 8s nowadays is really unpretty. I mean, anything below 9 is rare.
Well, I think that's just the amount of shots that teams are getting. I'm here sitting up watching games, and just Colorado, for example, you're looking at 21 shots halfway through the second period. And it's holy shit balls, man.
Well, there was sometimes even that just in the first period alone.
We mentioned that.
I haven't seen that very often.
I don't know if it's just Calgary games, but we were saying in the first round, too, I think they were playing Dallas, and Calgary had 30 shots halfway through the second period.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And then Washington had an overtime game. They had 16. So, I mean, and that's what it used to be back, 10, 15 years ago, 20 shots.
It's a very defensive game. Everyone prided themselves on defense, but now that's it.
Obviously, the league is trending the way towards offense, so, I mean, it's definitely not the same game.
Similar to the way football is going, actually.
Yeah.
And the NBA.
It's all sports.
It's kind of pushing the entertainment side of things on the fans, oh, you like seeing goals? Here you go.
Well,
rule change.
Yeah.
Rule change.
And,
like,
and it don't even seem like it was that long ago. Like I was talking to John recently about the NBA Finals about 15 years ago, and all the scores were in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
You know, winning team getting a 90.
You were talking about the Spurs, right?
Yeah, the Spurs and Cavs in 07. Like, there was a lot of games that was like 75, 72, and Jesus, today, like, that's the third quarter, maybe.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, you know, like, it's...
Well, last night I told Goody, I said, man, this is an extremely low-scoring game.
Yeah.
Ended 75-74 after third quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the final. I mean, hockey was the same way. I mean, like, a lot of teams had, like, that trap style, you know, solid goaltending, good defense. You know, depth scoring, really. Yeah. Just not a whole lot of superstars, I guess, back in today's game. I mean, the gear is different. You know, the sticks can bend into a C curve now, like the kids spring off. Like,
don't have all the wooden sticks like you did back in the day.
It's just a different day, you know. Mm-hmm. So Edmonton was up 3-0 in Game 4. Calgary battled back tied 3-3 in the third period, and then Ryan Nugent-Hopkins scored a goal-ahead goal. This is a trend here for these past couple games. It was 3-3, you know, high-scoring games, and Edmonton would just get that key goal at the key moment to kind of put them ahead. And then Kane again had an empty netter, so he had 4 goals there in those 2 games in Edmonton. So his name again was coming up a lot in those couple games. So going back now to Game 5, quiet first and third periods, but an extremely wild second period. There's 7 goals combined between both teams. Edmonton had 4 and Calgary had 3. So it was quiet first, quiet third, but then the second period had all the action out in one frame. So tighter third period once all that happened, led to overtime, and then about 5 minutes into overtime, Connor McDavid scores a goal and ends the season for Calgary. So that put the Battle of Alberta to rest. And we expected a better series going in.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be the complete opposite. I thought it was going to be like tight most of the way through, and Calgary was just going to grind it out, but it was basically the complete opposite. It was just relentless offense from Edmonton the whole way through. It was kind of tight every now and again, but Calgary just couldn't get those goals like they were getting in the Dallas series there.
A lot of their stars were a little bit quiet at times. Mm-hmm. Like, they would come in and, like, I felt like they almost never had control.
Yeah, like
control, they would be scoring goals, but it would always be like, okay, now it's tied 3-3 or 4-4. Like, they almost never had to lead.
Mm-hmm. They were always chasing
that
the game,
first game, anyways. Was,
yeah.
You know, at best, it's like they were fighting just to have it tied or something.
Yeah. I just think that Connor McDavid line, that power play line, Connor McDavid, Draisaitl, and Evander Kane, it was just too much to handle. Mm-hmm. Like, if you send them out there against the Tkachuk, Gaudreau line and Lindholm, it's like, it's just not the same caliber.
Wow, like McDavid and Draisaitl's points were just out of control, and then when you're getting high points too from Kane and Hyman, those guys that you're not necessarily banking on every game, you know, it's so hard.
He's great.
Yeah. So that was. I think I had Edmonton as one of my surprise teams too to make a run, so I was not too upset to see them make that run. Won't get to the next round, but it was all downhill from there. So to get to their opponent now in the third round, so being a St. Louis fan, this wasn't a great one to watch, but so we'll get into that one now.
Well, it had its upside for St. Louis, though.
Well,
they were in a lot of the games.
It was competitive, you know, and not that was all I was asking for, but there was moments where I believed that they could do it. But to get into game by game, I mean, the first game, again, we're talking about Colorado and the shots. The shots were 54-25. The speed was just, you could tell immediately that it was just like, I'll just say this now as a summary over the whole series. I felt like Colorado was on the power play for the whole series.
Yeah.
Like, it just felt like the whole series was just shorthanded. They got 7 men out there or something. It's
To me, it seemed like St. Louis played better when they were on penalty kill than what they were at even strength.
Yeah.
They had a couple.
They hit top penalty kill in the league.
Right? Yeah, they did. Yeah. So I mean, at this point, they had turned to Bennington. He was unreal in that first game, obviously, with that shot differential. I wrote as a note, not his fault at all, because it was just so lopsided in the shots. St. Louis would come down, and then they would like they were opportunistic. Like, they would score when they had their chances. Mm-hmm. Of course, obviously, chances were weighed to Colorado's side. Special teams too, they really capitalized on that. I said that there was 2 ways that St. Louis was going to win that series. One, Bennington played unreal and nuts. Mm-hmm. Played a game of his life, or the special teams were just totally one-sided. And in that first game, St. Louis special teams won. I think they were like 2 for 2, and Colorado was 0 for 4. and Binnington played one of the best games I've ever seen him play, and they still lost.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that was the two ways I could have seen them win the series, and they did both in the same game and still lost. So I said, well, at that point I felt, okay, what the hell can they do? So again, then we get to game 2. Binnington was sharp again. St. Louis had better pressure throughout. I felt that it was a little bit more even of a game when it came to scoring chances and shots. Capitalizing again off power play. Special teams was really a big reason they stayed in it. Kyra had a really pretty goal in the second period. Perron got 2, mainly on the power play. And then Brandesad added an empty netter at the very end. I believe the score was 4-1 in that one. So it was 1-1. So you start believing then, okay, you stole one in Colorado. You start having a bit of hope. Then we get to game 3. Parayko scores an early goal to make it 1-0. And then that's where the tide shifted. Shortly after that, Binnington got... he didn't get ran into by Kadri, but Kadri pushed the St. Louis defenseman into him.
It's more or less an awkward
situation. The defenseman was kind of in front of him, so kind of like, I don't want to blame Kadri. Of course, being on the bias side of his heart, it's hard not to.
Yes, well, his reputation really hurt him there because holy shit, boss, man.
It's just,
everybody crushed him for that.
Yeah.
Well, it was just like, if that was Lehkonen or just, player X, nobody says anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's crappy that the goaltender got hurt and was gone for the series. Like, if, whatever, if he just missed that game or something.
Yeah.
Okay, but for him end up being gone for the whole series, I believe it was like a knee sprain or something. It wasn't like any tears, but it was a sprain, usually 2 weeks or so. So he was definitely ruled out for the series at that point. But yeah, just the reputation, I guess, really got in the way there, and it was unfortunate. But so Husso came in, who did play a lot of games during the regular season, and was the starting goaltender to start the playoffs. So not that you're turning to a complete nobody at that point. He was shaky though when he first started. Colorado depth really came through shortly after that. Goals from O'Connor. Kadri did get one himself. Lehkonen did. O'Reilly cut it to 1, and then in the third period, St. Louis had good pressure, but wasn't able to tie it up. Colorado got a couple empty netters, 5-2, so then they really started to take control there. So Perron opened the scoring game 4, but the Avs outshot him badly again, but St. Louis did have the lead. Eventually, Colorado was going to start capitalizing on the pressure, and they did in the second period. They had 4 goals in 8 minutes.
Crazy.
Kadri again twice, Johnson and Taves. So Kadri was hearing a lot of hate from the fans, obviously, at that point after Game 3, and then he used it to really fuel him for Game 4.
Yeah.
So he used it as a positive rather than a negative. Yeah. So St. Louis made it close there with a couple goals at the end of the second period, and then Kadri completed his hat trick in the third period, and Colorado had an empty netter after that. So just a really gutty performance out of Kadri after everything he heard after Game 3. So then up 3-1, we go back to Colorado. They had 2 big goals in the first period and had another one early in the second to make it 3-0. Looked pretty rudimentary. That was going to be over then at that point. Tarasenko got just a shot where he turned around and shot it up upstairs at the end of the second. Thomas and Kyrou came through and tied it up in the third, and then McKinnon had just a nuts goal at the very end. It looked like it was going to be the series winner. And in rush, I don't know if
it was like destiny.
Yeah.
It was just like destiny. I remember I was just sitting up late in my bed, ready to go to sleep, and I had it on my phone. And I looked, and I seen him get it in the neutral zone. And he came, and I was like, holy fuck, he's got some speed, man.
Well,
that D-man is not ready.
Going with the speed,
He took it back inside, toe drag right between him. I don't know how he potted it upstairs, but my God.
Just for such a small window, too.
Just for him to get that goal, to propel him past the second round, after years of fucking heartbreak.
Well, it was so, it seemed like it was destiny because, St. Louis came back, tied it up. All the momentum shifting that way. And then he comes down and does that. And again, it seems like it's over. And this game is nuts. So there's about 3 minutes left there. And then in the last minute, Thomas gets the second one, ties it up again, 4-4. Then it goes to overtime. Bozak gets kind of a greasy goal on
That was his first shift of the game.
Yeah, just a bad miss. I don't know, it wasn't much of a screen, but it looked like there was a little bit of one. It was a pretty,
It looked harmless to me.
It was somewhere between, the face-off circle and the point. So
it was high slide.
It was like a high slide. It wasn't close, but it wasn't, it was a far enough shot that you think you would have enough time to see it.
Yeah.
Ended up getting through. Again, this is the part where I'm like, okay, you go home, you win another one at home, then who knows what can happen in Game 7, so you start kind of getting that belief again. So going into Game 6, and then this is just what I hate, how they go home, they got all that momentum after Game 5. And 2 periods of the game are by, and it's 25-12 are the shots. They're just getting pounded on at home, just shot after shot after shot. Now, they still led. They had goals from Falk and Kyrou, so they were up 2-1 after 2, but the shots were 25-12. So, going into the third, I'm thinking, okay, you're 20 minutes away from getting into Game 7. And then, if they tie it up, I'm going to feel like crap, because I feel like there's almost no way to overcome that. And then if they don't, I mean, you're up by 1, win that game, move on. So then, I think it was about 8 minutes into the third period, JT Compher scored his second of the game, so he had a pretty good performance in that game. I believe it was at the very last second of the power play. He got one in. It was kind of a weaker goal, too, which was unfortunate. Again, at that point, once they tied it up, it kind of felt inevitable that whether it was the end of the third period or in overtime, that Colorado was probably going to get the next goal with all the pressure. I mean, you know, I'm almost switching the channel there because the intermission's coming up. And Helm, 5 seconds to go. Greasy goal.
Yeah, 5 or 6, yeah.
I mean, again, just the depth. When you're getting scoring from those guys,
that's like your fourth line.
You don't stand a chance. I mean, I think that's what they just put guys out there just to get it overtime.
Waste time, get it.
Yeah, and then they just took a shot. There's a bit of action going on in front.
Yeah.
Uso just completely missed it. I mean,
that was the one where they were
a
carrying
screen
it down the
on
right
shot.
side.
Yeah.
And he tried to make a cross-ice pass,
yeah,
but he missed.
He was just a left shot, and he just turned around and just shot.
It was like a perfect one-timer, really.
Yeah.
And it was shot. I don't think the goalie expected it at all.
No, it was screened by
well,
two
I had
bodies
there
as
that
well.
it was such a smart play because it was only a couple seconds left, so his only play wasn't really to stop set it. He just took it, just throw it, and then he just threw it on net, and then there just happened to be a lot of stuff going on. And then as you said, John, just get the monkey off their back for the past couple of years. I mean, So I mean, hats off to Colorado. They were a much better team. Like I said, it felt like they had the pressure on. Like every game, it felt like their shots were just like almost double at points. Like I didn't go through and add it all up over the whole series, but I can only imagine it was probably 2 to 3 games worth of shots extra that they had.
Yeah, their average all playoffs up to this point, heading into the Stanley Cup Finals, is 40.7. So that's absurd.
Their average for the season was 35.
Yeah,
which is high.
Yeah.
You know, so to put up that output,
I think Florida had the most with like 37 or 38,
and then they had the most goals. So I mean, it goes to show that just shooting it more.
Yeah, you get pucks on net, you're going to be rewarded.
Yeah, that's right. So any big takeaways besides anything else about that one before we move on to the East?
Yeah, Shane, like you said, man, with Kyrou, you said it in our previous podcast, sir.
Yep.
Like he is shown up as a superstar in this league, and I was like, in the moment, I was like, fuck off. Like, that guy, I don't know, man. He seemed like a second-line player to me or whatever. But, dude, he showed up, man. He had some massive goals in the series.
And like, Thomas is more of a playmaker, but him, too. It's nice to see, like the young guys coming through in key moments. And, I wish Husso, kind of panned out a bit more. But, I mean, there's a choice to be made with him going into the offseason, but it is nice to see that there is some young guys coming up.
Well, it definitely gives you a bit of hope for the future, like Will O'Reilly and the boys.
Yeah, well, I had talked about to you guys off air that like they are an aging team when it comes to like their core, but like this is kind of their new core also coming up too. So I mean, don't be shocked if 3 years down the road, it is just that's their top line is Kyrou and Thomas and the other guys coming up. So I mean, it's definitely good to see that there is some. They've drafted well. I mean, most of their team is put together by draft picks, so they've had consistent GM. So it is good to see. We'll see what kind of moves they make in free agency, but overall, I mean, pretty positive season, and there's definitely moves to be made, I guess, if you want to get further.
I'm curious to see what they're going to do with the Husso situation with
that's
Binnington.
What's
his
biggest
contract? It was 5x5, wasn't it? Something like that.
6x6.
6x6.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not a cheap contract either.
No, it's not.
Like if you're going to bring Husso back, you almost got to move him. Binnington, that is.
Yeah, definitely.
And who's going to want a contract unless it's like.
There's a lot of teams looking for goalies.
See Toronto taking them.
Yeah.
But they would probably try for Husso first because obviously they can sign him to their terms.
Yeah, he's a couple years younger.
I don't even think Toronto would be able to afford a $6 million goalie, would they?
No, well, they're letting Campbell walk. He wanted a little over 5 for 3 years.
Yeah, there you go. So.
Yeah, I guess one more note for me is I'm just so... Like, Landeskog is probably one of my favorite players in the league. Like, Jonathan Taves was my favorite guy. And... Landeskog has come a long way since being named captain at 19 years old, 18 years old. And I'm just so happy to see them get on.
Yeah.
Get past the second round, into the third round. And they really had a favorable matchup there, but we'll get into that now soon.
Yeah, I find that obviously McKinnon is such a great player and just such a
McKinnon too,
superstar.
man.
He gets more shine up in
Edmonton as well.
because he is Canadian too.
And he's Atlantic Canadian.
So he, you see him
Halifax.
on a whole lot of commercials and stuff here. Like I know him and Sidney Crosby have a lot of Tim Hortons commercials and stuff.
Yeah.
So like he is kind of the guy that's in front of your screen and stuff a lot. And he's the guy who you see his after game interview. I almost forget that Landeskog's the captain sometimes.
Yeah.
And that he has such a leadership presence that like you almost don't even know is there, but like he's on the score sheet a lot more than what I realized. Certainly going into the playoffs, and like I said, when you list out who's scoring in all their games, his name's there a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously they have such a good power play. Again, his leadership. He's been captain for years on end now.
But it's all over the stat sheet. It's hits, it's takeaways, it's assists, it's screens for goals.
Complete player.
Yeah, it's fantastic to watch. He's just such a solid player.
Anything else in the West before we switch over to the East? I think we're
good. Yeah.
Pretty good. All right, so we'll hop over to Tampa Bay after taking out Toronto in 7. You think, I don't know, did they got anything left in the tank? I mean, you're going up against another hard team. They certainly have Florida's number, it seems.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this wasn't much of a series. Just a note before we get into it that Florida only had 3 goals in this entire series.
Crazy.
Unreal. Yeah,
Crazy. I don't know. I don't understand.
Yeah, Vasilevsky really had a bounce back series because his save percentage after the Leafs series was like .905, and now it's at .928.
Which again,
That is a huge
going back
increase.
to that, like anything below 9, like you would say that for him
That for him is
showing he's human.
Yeah,
You know, like that. It's just like, okay,
It's not a brick wall.
yeah. He's not like as we're saying, he gets into closeout games and he turns into God mode. Just an insane number.
991 save percentage.
But just to put it in perspective about and 905 isn't bad per se.
Yeah.
I mean, like again,
that's league average this year.
In today's game, it's pretty standard. But like that's.
Yeah, I just want to put that in perspective because we had a conversation before we got on here, and you said his save percentage was .991 in elimination games in the last.
I think it was 8 or 7 games. I think it was.
Or is it 9 now or 10? Because they closed out.
I think that was including the game against the Rangers.
Okay.
Yeah.
That means he only allows 9 goals for every 1,000 shots. 1,000 shots.
And keep in mind too, the Toronto game and the Ranger game, he gave up 1 goal in each of those games, which put the stat down.
That brought it down.
Yeah.
He had
Yeah.
shutouts the entire time before
That brought the stat down.
My
Like,
God,
that's
it's
insane.
just unfathomable. You haven't seen a run like this from a goalie. I mean, ever. With the solid team they got in front of him, it's just goddamn.
And I mean, this is again jumping ahead a tiny bit, but like this is 11 straight series now that they've won. You know, so I mean,
The key was get Fat Maroon on your team, man.
Yeah,
he seems to be the guy. Like I mean, they just signed him to a contract and start sizing up for rings already. I mean, that's
that's right.
just
Yeah, but
They got one sheet there for your contract, one sheet there for your ring size.
Yeah, but this season, I don't know, man. They got Corey Perry. That could be the one that cancels it out because the last 2 years he's lost in finals.
Yeah.
I don't know if he canceled it out. He just he could be like the Marion Hossa where he just loses in the finals every year.
Yeah.
So,
But I mean, he lost back-to-back years. Then he hopped on Chicago and they won that first year. So
the classic case: if you can't beat him, join him.
yeah,
He lost in Dallas. Okay, well that's shitty. I'll go to Montreal, lose again. Yeah, you screw this. Screw this.
I'm just going straight to Tampa.
I can't lose Tampa now.
Yeah.
So getting into that series now in the second round. So my first note was just again what we just touched on. Vasilevsky strong all series. Florida led game 1 till the end of the second period, and it was all downhill from there, as we say. Tampa's depth really took over late in that game. Perry, Bellemare, and then Kucherov scored an insurance goal late. Colton got one at the very end to just make
Colton's
it
been huge for them this
a lot
playoffs,
grosser
too.
than what that game was. So Perry had a big series here. Actually, he scored
Total grease goals.
Oh, just all of them almost look the same. It's just him in front of the net, just creating havoc. Mostly tip goals.
Yeah.
And then so he opened scoring in game 2. Florida tied it in the second period. Both goalies really, really sharp in the third period. You really felt it could hinge either way. And then, as Max said, just Colton just hits a huge dagger. 3 seconds left to make it 2-1.
The fans.
Again, in Florida, you can almost feel the collective heart just drop when that shot went in. Because, again, this was in Florida. Another note we said before we got on, Tampa hasn't had home ice the whole playoffs at all. So they steal the 2 games there. This one literally steal. 3 seconds to go. That's pretty rough. Again, not the top line that pulls through in those late couple seconds. Like, you're almost trying to just get us to overtime. Yeah, we'll take care of it.
Don't give anything up.
Yeah, and then just one of those underrated guys.
But that was Kucherov behind the net, right?
It was, yes. It was. Yeah. So I don't know if possibly they were like mid-change or something, and Colton was just straight. It looked like he was just streaking.
That was Ekblad in front of the net.
Yeah, what happened was like you had Ekblad in front of the net. He what he should have did was stayed near the goal line to cut off the pass to Colton, and then
just stayed in the slot.
Yeah, but he charged at Kucherov, and that opened up the passing lane, and he just potted it.
Gross.
Yeah.
So going back to Tampa, again, Corey Perry, tip goal, opened the scoring game 3. Reinhart got one of Florida's 3 goals on the power play to tie it after 1 period. Chernak breaks the tie in the second period, and then Stamkos and Kucherov take over the rest of the way. 3 goals between the 2 of them. Vasilevsky, very, very sharp again. 34 shots, only allowed 1 goal in that one. And then again, Vasilevsky, unstoppable in close-out games, as we say. Tampa was outshot 20-3. Early in the second period, so they were completely dominated throughout the first half of that game.
Jesus Christ.
Tampa kept coming, though. They were in it. They had 2 disallowed goals, and then old Patty Maroon came through and got one that counts, which was also questionable.
Yeah.
I believe it was close to a high stick, and he a greasy goal. The kind of goals that him and Perry.
You can tell it was like at the crossbar level though, or slightly under.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that one was looked at upstairs, and that one ended up counting, so they kept that one as was. Florida had a power play at the very end, didn't capitalize on it. Then Tampa dumped it down, banked it off the boards. Palat was in the box, came out and put the empty netter in. Vasilevsky, a 49 save shutout, just incredible.
Yeah.
Again, a shutout in a closeout game is great, but 49 shots, just the numbers just don't do it justice. I mean, just how phenomenal he's been.
This is another day at the office for Vasilevsky, man. He's so unreal in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, they're just so consistent. And like, again, those depth guys coming in, scoring big goals, your goalie's playing like that. I mean, you're just not going to lose.
Yeah.
Just a couple notes before we get into the next series now. The Rangers and Hurricanes now to close out the second round. Carolina was 7-1 at home in the playoffs, with the one being the game that they got eliminated by. And they're 0-6 on the road.
You just can't.
You can't be doing that.
You can't.
I could not subject myself to cheer for them in that Game 7. I like them. I would have been stoked if they won the whole thing this year. And at this point, I was like, get them out. I can't cheer for a team that's 0-6 on the road.
Yeah.
You can't win the cup and not win a single. Just win one.
Yeah.
Just one.
That's it.
Yeah.
And
you give them credit because they won all their home games.
Exactly. Yeah. That was the other way to look at it, right?
But still, like, you got to win on the road. Like, it is a psychological battle on the road because you've got thousands and thousands and thousands of people cheering against you and booing you and shitting on you this entire time.
Exactly.
Plus, you got to play against these 30 guys on the other side trying to kill you as well. And it's like, they just never had it, man. They had to have the crowd behind them.
Yeah. And then the second note I had there that was very telling, their power play in the series was just god-awful. They were 2 for 18.
Yeah. All playoffs has been absurd. I think it was like... they brought up a module that said like it was like 18 for 200 and something since midway through the season.
It's under 10%.
Yeah.
It's like 9%.
18 goals on the
it was something around there. It was like maybe around 15, like over 200 power plays. Like, come on.
Just hit a spurt, man.
Yeah.
Hit a shit spurt. Yeah.
That is crazy.
That's a massive shit spurt, man. Yeah. I've never seen
that's
anything
a long,
like that.
Like, that's not a small sample size at all.
Yeah.
There's no way that could be right.
Yeah,
200 power plays with only 18 goals.
I'll try to find it here now.
A lot of these teams that I've done research on, when I look at their power play percentage, I also look at how many times they were on the power play. And a lot of teams were only like 230 for the entire season. So if that's the case, that stretch would have to be over the entire season. And their power play percentage would be like 9%.
Well, I'm thinking now you're probably getting 4 to 5 power plays a game. Times that by 82 games, that's up into 300 to 400. So I'd say 200 for half the season sounds about right.
Well, based on the stats, the
Now,
amount of times on the power
that's
play.
me guessing the average is 4 to 5 power plays.
There's
a game.
some teams that are like 300, and they're the worst in the league.
Right.
But then there's other teams that are around between 200 and 250.
Okay, well, in the playoffs, they were 5 for 36.
Terrible.
Yeah, 13.9.
Right.
And it doesn't say anything about
But that's for the
long
regular
stretch they had.
season.
But yeah, I think it was around like 10 or 9%. Like, it was like probably like a 60-game span, like, including the playoffs.
That's insane.
Yeah,
Nuts.
it was terrible.
So to get into the game by game here, so the Rangers led 1-0 in game one. Both goalies, again, this was a great goaltending battle for what Ranta gave them anyways. Then, of course, their superstars came to play a little bit. Aho ties up the game. And then it went to overtime, and then Ian Cole, unlikely overtime hero, 3 minutes into overtime. Game two, again, both goalies really strong again. Hurricanes converted shorthanded 2-on-1, which happened a couple times in this series. Brendan Smith, D-man, scored a shorthanded goal, so that was it was a really nice pass. And then Aho added an empty netter. Ranta had a 21 save shutout, so again, strong in their wins, and then in their losses, he was not great. So back and forth. So then when they shifted back to Madison Square Garden, the power play goal in the first period put them up. Shesterkin had a really big response once they got home in their 2 games at home. He stopped 43 out of 44 in game 3. Kreider got an insurance goal in the second period on a beautiful shot. Greasy goal by the Canes, cut the lead, and then good pressure in the third period from the Canes. But Rangers got an empty net goal from Tyler Mott that ended that game. So the Rangers came out on fire in Game 4. Vetrano, Fox scored in the first period, both on power plays, I believe. Zibanejad extended the lead in the second period. Teravainen got one for Carolina in the third with a bit of time left, so they had some time to get back. And then Kopp got one back immediately after. Shesterkin,
What a pickup for them.
Shesterkin was very, very sharp again, 30 out of 31 saves. But yeah, just talk about a bit the depth on both teams. But yeah, the Rangers again looking forward to, like, they really had a lot of guys step up that, like Vetrano too. I found his name was coming up a lot.
pickup.
Just like, a trade deadline pickup that really comes in and is able to establish them in the playoffs. That's what they trade him for,
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Right, so
Help us make the push. Even if you only give us 7 goals in the playoffs.
which is huge
Yeah,
for those
Yeah.
secondary guys. I mean,
Third
take
liners,
that
man.
anytime.
Man.
Yep.
As long as your top guys are producing 7 goals from another depth guy is unreal.
Absolutely.
Not much you can really ask for besides that.
So going back to Carolina then for Game 5, Carolina capitalized on another shorthanded 2-on-1. As I mentioned before, Stahl to Trocheck. Zibanejad gets a slapper on the power play, tied at 1 after 1 period. Teravainen gets a power play goal in second, take the lead. Quiet third period until Svechnikov created a turnover and got a quick breakaway to secure the dagger in Game 5. Carolina defense, again, we're talking about those games where they're giving up a lot of shots. Their defense was tremendous in this game, only allowing 17 shots. So, again, very rare to see that low number. So, again, very easy for Rantanen to play, not Rantanen, Ranta. Thinking about Colorado. To have a good game. I mean, only facing 17 shots,
Anti-Ranta, yeah.
Yeah, never mind.
So then shifting back to MSG again, Shesterkin very strong again at home, 37 out of 39. He stopped. Ranger depth coming through again. Hedl scored twice. Mott opened the scoring. Zibanejad got another first period power play goal. He had a string of like 4 or 5 games where he had a first period power play goal. Like it was a weird strat. Like they're all in the power play too. It's just such a crazy stat. Carolina got 2 to keep it close after 2 periods, and Panarin got a 5-on-3 goal to sink the Canes in Game 6. So now wrapping up the series now in Game 7. This is where the tide shifted for Carolina at home at this point. 7-0 at home, 0-6 on the road. So they probably feel pretty confident going into this game. Rangers strike with another 2 power play goals in the first period again. Fox and Kreider. Carolina then loses Ranta to another goalie injury, which is a weird theme this playoffs where a lot of goalies are getting banged up. Ranta already being their second goalie.
Well, the amount of teams that have went to their third goalie this year is ridiculous.
I think it's 3 or 4 teams that had to go to their third goalie.
Brutal.
Yep. So then, shortly after that, Strome scores to make it 3-0. I mean, it seemed all hope was lost after Ranta went down. Kreider used the speed to break away early in the third to make it 4-0. D'Angelo scored a power play goal for King, one of their two.
Yeah.
By the way, so it already came. One of the two measly ones he got was when it was 4-0 in Game 7. I mean, the game's over already.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as they did score that goal, Heedle got another one 40 seconds later to get it right.
Yeah,
back
it seemed whenever
5-1.
Carolina tried to make a push,
Yeah.
they just got
The
shut
Rangers
down.
Yeah,
came
they
back,
just
gave up
They'd
one.
end up giving up one right after. Domi got a goal when pretty much there was no fans left, and then Kopp had an empty netter to make it 6-2. So it wasn't even a close Game 7. Shesterkin again, 37 shots faced, or 39 shots faced, 37 stops. So he had the exact same stats actually between Game 6, 7, and Game 1 of the East Finals. He had 39 shots, top 37, identical stats for 3 games straight.
Wow.
So yeah, again, just a really, it's nice to see Game 7 in sports, but I feel like between this and basketball, all the Game 7s this year have just been disgusting.
Yeah,
It's
hasn't
just been
been
slaughter
fun.
fest.
They haven't been close at all. The Toronto one was probably the most exciting one.
It was 3-1.
Take away that goal that got taken back, and it would have been 2-2. I mean, that was the closest one. But Max still shaking his head about that one.
It's been done so many times since that game, and it hasn't been called, and it's just I
haven't seen any as blatant as that.
Well, Max showed me a video the other day of some bad ones.
There were 5 or 6.
Edmonton had a really bad one.
McDavid coming down, he literally put Buddy on his ass. It was worse than the Justin Hall one.
It just wasn't called at all.
Interesting. Yeah, show me that.
Yeah.
There was like a compilation video of just freaking 4 or 5 of them straight in a row. But anyways, interesting to see. All right, so we'll move on now to the conference finals matchups. We'll start in the West again, I guess.
I want to make a note there, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, sure.
Carolina had 232 power play opportunities this year.
Yeah.
In 82 games.
Right.
Yeah. So
did it say what their power play was?
20.7%.
Which is not bad.
That's not bad. No. But if they went on a shit streak like that over 200...
I'm thinking now, maybe they were really hot in the first, 30, 40 games.
But I did it up, and they would have had to be 80% on the power play to have only 9 goals in their final 200.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really make sense.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was probably
80%.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. Now, it would have been a smaller sample size, I guess, but, still.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah, it still would have been, 40 opportunities, right?
I don't know if you guys have them on hand here just before we get into the summary, but do you remember what you had predicted for the Eastern and Western finals?
I did in 5.
I did as well.
I think I had Avs in 6. I think is what I had.
I had Tampa in 6 for the East.
I did as well.
Yeah, I believe I did as well. Or Tampa in 5.
We all had very similar ones.
Yeah,
I know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll get into the West first. Again, not much of a series here. Again, Game 1 of the Calgary series, how do you score 6 goals in Game 1s and lose both of them twice? Yeah, I mean, this is just phenomenal. Mike Smith, this is 25 shots and he allowed 6 goals.
Yeah,
that's brutal.
That sucks.
Now the quality of chances that they were giving up, ridiculous.
Yeah,
it was just
And you're on a team that capitalizes on that. Yeah. Not that Calgary didn't, but they didn't in the moment.
Yeah.
A lot of their bigger guys didn't step up.
Yeah.
Which is probably even more of a sick stat out of all this is Koskinen went in, gave up 1 goal, and he gets credit for the loss because Edmonton scored 6.
Crazy.
So Mike Smith gives up 6 goals on 25 shots, and the other goalie gets credit for the loss.
I thought Edmonton was going to win that game, honestly.
Sucks.
They were making a great push.
Yeah. So note 2 in this game is this was the game that Kemper got hurt again to the point where he's still out and we don't know what his status is going into Game 1 of the finals.
Yeah, I believe he's still questionable.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with him. But just a note that this was Game 1 was, I want to say, about 2 weeks ago. So that's how long he's been out now since then. Edmonton has 6 different goal scorers in this game. Kane, Hyman, McLeod, McDavid, Ryan, and Nugent Hopkins, which is 2 different people, not the same guy. Colorado scores were Comfort twice, McCarr, McKinnon, Kadri, Rantanen, Cogliano, and so half the team, again, with 8 goals. Just crazy. Smith was quite a bit better in Game 2, stopping 36 of 40 shots. Frank Hughes, who's in there at this point, was very sharp when needed. Only faced 24 shots. He did have a shutout in this game, but again with the low shot total, not so hard. So the turning point in this game, it was tied, and then early in the second period, Colorado had 3 goals in a 2-minute span from Lehkonen, Manson, and Rantanen again. So
just like this.
Yeah, and it was quick, and I mean that just
Crazy.
took all the wind out of the sails. Of course, this was in Colorado too, so the fans are going crazy at this point. McKinnon added a power play going third, 4-0, pretty easy game that they cruised here. So heading back to Edmonton, same feelings as the goalie in Game 3. Smith played a lot better, stopping 39 out of 42, which again against this team is pretty good. Frank Hughes, or Francois, however you say it, was 27 out of 29, solid. Kept the team in it. Game was tied 2-2 in the third, and Confer again in those key moments when it's tied in important games came through and scored to break the tie. Rantanen.
I thought Oilers had this game.
Yeah, it was very, very, very close.
I thought they had the momentum in the entire third period.
Which, of course, if they win this game, I mean, it's in Edmonton again for Game 4. Would have been 2-1 series at this point. I mean, you're just the home team.
Give
winning
yourself a shot
at that point. Yeah, just keeping everything in it. But again, Confer came again. Seems like they're all on the road too, getting those key goals from lower on the depth chart guys that really just takes it's like a gut punch. So then to wrap up the series, we'll go to Game 4. Both goalies not necessarily a strong game. Both giving up 5 in the regulation periods. Colorado was 2 for 2 on the power play, whereas the Oilers were 1 and 5. So that was kind of the difference early on there. Edmonton had a couple more chances to capitalize, and they did not. So Colorado, their stars were showing up: Makar, McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog, Taves. I mean, all guys that you expect to be on the score sheet consistently. They were the 5 goal scorers. Edmonton goals from Hyman twice again. His name keeps coming up. McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, and then surprising hero Zach Kassian was the one who tied it up at 5-5. So you see all these strong names who scored in this game, and then little Zach Kassian's the guy. Well, not little. Little in terms of skill, I guess. So then we go to overtime. Just over a minute in, Lehkonen gets a rebound. Past the old team winner, and Avs are off to the Cup final. And I believe they did touch the trophy. Hey, it's just something.
They did, yeah. Tampa did as well.
Tampa got 10 of them now at this point. The way they're going down. I fully expected not. I heard the commentators say when Tampa was going over to get it, they said, "Will they touch it?" I was like, "Doesn't matter." For Colorado, who's trying to get the monkey off their back, kind of thing. I was like, I get it if they don't touch it. Yeah. I totally get it. But Tampa, take it off. It don't matter what they do with it.
Yeah. I'd be curious to know if they touched it last year and the year before or not.
I don't know. I think they did probably last year.
I think they did the last 2 years, yeah.
I think there was 1 year, now correct me if I'm wrong, but they got technically the West one year, because I think it might have been last year.
Oh, yeah.
Because last year where it was the weird division, you only play your own, because obviously it was Tampa and Montreal who were 2 East teams, but they played in the finals, which is not traditionally how it works. So I think Tampa might have got the Western Trophy last year.
That's interesting.
It is, so
probably the first team ever to win both.
Exactly. I know I could be wrong, and they did win the same one all 3 years, but I'm because obviously it was either them or Montreal who got the weird one that traditionally an East team would win. So one of them would have been the first one to win both. So that is an interesting thing to know. But I'm not sure. I think it was Tampa
who. The Pacific, Central, Canadian, and Atlantic. So you would think the Canadian and the Pacific were in the West, so I'd say they probably got the East.
Probably did, yeah. Well, I mean, because you definitely had all those out West teams, and I believe although Montreal played Vegas, who was a Western team in the
West,
in the conference final. Can't remember who Tampa played in the conference. I think it was the Islanders. Anyways.
Yeah, the Islanders.
So we'll get into the East finals now. Any final thoughts on Colorado and Edmonton, or I think we're okay?
Pretty clear. I know they made it out to be just this massive battle between McKinnon and McDavid, and it wasn't that at all. They both produced, and they both played great.
Yeah.
But it was like McDavid showed up to to a war with 4 guys, and then he looked over and there's fucking 30 guys on Colorado's side.
Yeah. I think
how are you supposed to compete?
The biggest thing too was Kemper got hurt in game 1, and then they got their backup again. All the backups nowadays play 30 games, but their backups coming in, and they get shut out in game 2. I felt at that point.
Heartbreaking.
I said I think they
that's a
really
fucking
felt
lot
they
right
could win
there.
that game. Like, they were certainly in the first game with it being, as high scoring as it was. Like, if you keep up that scoring, or maybe even build on it a little bit, going against a worser goalie on paper, and then hopefully Mike Smith don't shit his pants again in game 1 or game 2 as he did in game 1, and he did. He had a stronger game in game 2,
yeah.
and they just didn't score. And I think if they win that game 2, it could completely change momentum. Then you're going home with a 1-1. Your fans are going crazy. The atmosphere in Edmonton in the playoffs is always great. I think that game really just stuck a big knife in their back, and then game 3 was so close, and then Confer with that big goal in game 3. It's just they were there. It just is one of those sweeps that, and I don't know, I feel this way a lot, even though it is one team that wins all the games. Like, they're all close,
Yeah.
but it's just they all go the same to the one side, right? All the games individually are close, but it just goes to the same team.
Yeah.
So it is a different way of a sweep, I guess, but it is what it is. Domination, all the same. All right, so we'll get to the East Finals now. Vasilevsky had a pretty weak game in Game 1. Game 1 of those games where he looks human. 6 goals on 34 shots he gave up. That was an interesting note that the Ranger fans started chanting that Igor's better.
Yeah.
He stopped again, as I mentioned,
Yeah,
37
that
at
is not what
39,
you
and
wanna
then
do.
you started
Like,
chanting.
I had this conversation with a buddy there the other night, and he was like, "Yeah, it's Shesterkin, man. He's the best goalie in the league." I was like, "No, he's not."
Yeah.
And like,
He had the better season this year. Yeah.
maybe
But no.
stats, but it's still the same guy sitting under that Tampa Bay jersey and that goalie helmet. Like, that's the same dude, like, who's won the back-to-back championships and is here now again.
Yeah, he's got a Conn Smyth under his belt.
It's like,
he's
come
won
on.
2 Vezinas as well, hasn't he?
This guy is the only
Yeah.
guy who will be in the conversation as this decade's, like, Carey Price.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, listen, he's getting to some major territory now if he wins a third cup.
yes,
Yeah.
that's
Like-
insane.
Like, Patrick Waugh had 4 cups and 1 Conn Smythe. Broder had 3 cups and none. No Conn Smythe.
Depending on how he plays this series, he could probably win another Conn Smyth. He's at 9.8
Man,
save percentage right
It's hard
now.
to see
He's-
with Kucherov and
And
his
especially
point.
with stats like that in closeout games, I mean, playoff shutouts and all that stuff. I mean, he's going to be closing in on some big names soon.
Kucherov only has 23 points so far in this playoffs. That is not
17
that
17 games. That's still nuts.
It's still great.
Yeah, that's a stretch of only,
Yeah.
but
yeah. it
But
is.
I know, but like normally, like for a player to like beat out the goalie that's having at least around 930 save percentage, they got to have at least over 30 points.
Well, there's still 7 games remaining.
Oh no,
He's still got 23 points. You're gonna assume he keeps on the same pace.
yeah, I mean, I won't give away our picks, but I don't think anybody here got a sweep. So
no,
No.
it's
definitely
probably
not.
it's he's gonna have 5 or 6 or 7 games to really
Yeah.
Yes.
build on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, for me, Vasilevsky's the best goalie in the world,
Yeah, I agree.
and I don't think there's any question among the hockey community that that's the straight up thing.
Yeah.
Like, consistent excellence year after year
So
after year.
it's such a hard. It is debatable, but I mean, it's like that in any sport. You say who's the best playing today. Like, I mean, you could debate it anywhere. Like, I don't think there's anybody in any sport who's so clear and above everybody else.
Well, LeBron for like 15 years.
Yeah.
I
You
feel
know,
like there was
or
always
12
like
years.
one guy, like that one season Derrick Rose had, where you're like, oh, okay, you can make a case. Like, you can almost always make a case for one player, and they just don't end up sustaining it as long.
But
as,
if you have to say, I can make a case, then you're already behind. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
but that's
Nobody
all,
says,
that's all
I
it
can
is.
make a case LeBron is the best player.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
That's
he's
just
the
what-
best
what
player.
is
You make a
assumed.
case for
Yeah,
everyone else,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that was Vasilevsky. Like, I don't know, it's ironic we're talking about how great he is, and that was his worst game in the playoffs. But it was just funny that the Ranger fans were chanting that in that game.
Yeah.
So the Rangers get goals from Kreider, Vetrano, Hedl twice, Panarin, and Zabinja. So, I mean, all their stars. Tampa had it tied 2-2 in the second period from goals of Stamkos and Plot. Then Hedl's 2 goals just started an avalanche for the Rangers, so they win game 1. Shesterkin, another strong game 2, slightly better than Vasilevsky again. He stopped 29 of 31, and then Vasi had 25 of 28, so both pretty similar stat-wise. Tampa was 1 for 1 on the power play, and the Rangers were 0 for 4, so the Rangers overcame that. Strong 5-on-5 play for them. Goals from Miller, Kakko, and Zibanejad. Lightning cut the game to 3-2 late from a goal from Paul, but that's close to got. And then Rangers up 2-0 going to Tampa, and common team all downhill from there.
Yeah.
So both goalies really, really strong in Game 3. Shesterkin was busier of the two. 52 shots faced, again, phenomenal. 49 saves. Game was 2-2 in the third. 2 power play goals from each team. Once again, clutch late game scenario.
Andre Palat, buddy.
Kucherov with a nice touch pass. He wasn't even looking at him. He just kind of ticked it because he knew he was behind him.
Yeah.
Palat didn't hesitate at all. Ripped it as soon as it touched the stick.
Yeah.
42 seconds to go. I mean, this is like the Florida game. Just, it's at home this time. But, yeah, you feel it in your gut. I mean, the Rangers were kind of playing with house money a little bit there.
Yeah.
Close game. You win this one, you're up 3-0. So, definitely not enough to, but enough to, again, be a gut punch where you're just like, damn, that was a missed opportunity that I feel like we're going to wish we had back, and of course we did. So 2-1 at that point. At this point, this was the turning point. This is when Vasilevsky really started to take over the series. Stopped 34 of 35 here in the Game 4. Tampa had full control of this game. Goals from Maroon, Kucherov, Stamkos. Panarin finally got the Rangers on board with 3:30 left. Palat got an empty netter to make it look grosser than what it was, but Tampa just controlled the game from start to finish. Rangers didn't even score until the very, very end, so they had to lead throughout the entire game. So then the key game in the series, Game 5, very defensive game. I mentioned earlier that there was a lot of shots, again, going back to those couple games, Shesterkin facing 52 shots, Vasilevsky facing 35. The shot total dropped significantly here. Both teams combined for 51.
Yeah.
So where Shesterkin seen 52 himself and then dropped to combined total.
I was watching with Max, and I was saying both teams are scared shitless to lose this game.
Yeah. Such a key game.
Both your D-men, when you're driving into the zone, both of them are hanging out at the red line until you sustain pressure.
Yeah.
And then that takes away from your forwards getting on a rush to the neutral zone, and both teams were doing it. And you had 2 forwards sitting back, 2 D sitting back, and you're one guy. If he could sustain pressure, a forward would join. They could cycle going, the third forward would join. And it was just such a slow, old classic time of hockey, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
2000s kind of thing.
Yeah.
Pure defense, both teams very aware that if you lose this game, shit's going sideways.
It looked more like a Game 7.
What's that?
It did. Yeah, it looked way more like a Game 7.
But I think both teams realized then at 2-2 that was such a big moment.
Oh, yeah.
That whoever won that game was going to have a really big advantage. So, I mean, I guess they kind of played it like a Game 7. Right?
Yeah, you couldn't allow a 2-on-1, and you could not allow a breakaway.
No.
Yeah. So both goalies were sharp, despite the low scoring chances. Surprising goal scorers, Lindgren and Sergachev. The game was tied through 2 periods, and then again, late game scenario. Tampa all playoff long. When they're a close game, there's a goal at the end. It's never them on the wrong end of it, right?
No.
What originally was thought to be a Sergachev goal, I looked at it today. Palat actually got credit for it. So it was
one of his shin pad.
Yeah, so it was a tip in front, 150 left, take the lead, and then Hagel had an empty netter to secure the win there. So obviously a huge win there. Tampa's up 3-2, going back home now for Game 6. Yeah. Again, rather defensive game again. Series really tightened up down the stretch here. Tampa had 31 shots. Shesterkin was very strong. Vasilevsky only faced 21, but was great. There were still some really quality chances, even though
there was
he
one
only faced 21.
Just under the goal line.
Yeah.
Where I can't remember who it was, but he brought it out, and he had the open net, but Vasilevsky got his pad out to the goal line and saved it. It was insane.
Yeah,
but
so
Shesterkin also made some crazy stuff.
He only faced...
I think that was Ryan Lindgren. That's what it was, yeah. He came in on the cycle, and I'm not sure who got him the puck, but then he came out around the net, and Vasilevsky sprawled over, stretched out, and barely got it with his toe.
Yeah.
Unreal.
And I mean, this was a 1-goal game again, so I mean, obviously, key moment like that, kind of like the Toronto game, like if they got that one more, then, who knows. Stamkos opened the scoring. He had what looked like kind of a weak goal at first, but there was a bit of a screen on it. With all the defense that was going on, it seemed like such a simple chance. He just kind of came in and then he just took a simple shot. And it just,
Yeah, I was watching that game. Then I was about to get up to get something to drink, and I looked, and I was like, that went in? I was
Yeah,
like, and then they showed the replay. I was like, oh, okay, that was
Which
kinda
one is
weird.
this? The Kucherov breakaway?
No, it was
Stamkos' first goal.
Yeah.
He like went on. He was on like the right face-off circle, and he just took a common
put it
wrist
on,
shot,
yeah.
and it was just
Yeah,
it was
looked
just
harmless
a
at
tiny
first,
bit
yeah.
screened, but I mean,
Shesterkin was really low.
yeah.
It's like he was down trying to see the puck, and he had his glove up, but
Yeah,
Wasn't
just
up
missed
enough.
it.
Yeah, well, that was like the last game too. Lindgren's goal on Vasilevsky was really weak too. He was just off on the sideboards and just threw at the net, and it just went in. I mean, it was just like those games where two of them were super strong. The defense was crazy, but it was just a shot from out far, and it's just one that you kind of want back, right?
Yeah, Shesterkin made a lot of key saves in that game too. I think there was a 2-on-1 Stamkos and Kucherov had, and it was on Kucherov's backhand, but he still made an unreal glove save. It was nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the Rangers got a power play going the third period from Vetrano. Again, this is same as I can't remember what series we were talking about earlier, where a team scored and then immediately the team that got scored on go down the ice. A weird goal. Looked like I don't know. I can't remember who took the original shot. Was it Stamkos? And then it hit off him and went in, but I can't remember if he took the shot first and kept crashing net, or if someone else took it and it just rebounded.
Stamkos came in. I think it was nearly a breakaway, wasn't it?
I can't
think
remember
it was a breakaway, and he shot it and he got it with his glove,
and then
Stamkos
it came back.
kind of crashed in.
He was crashing the net, yeah.
And he kind of hit his glove and the puck just went in. Shesterkin was livid.
Yeah.
He was giving it to the ref.
Yeah.
In whatever language he's going at. He's going to go, Steven, what are you skipping? Like, just letting him have it, man. And,
Like,
the ref was just like,
I guess they called that a hit off his stick rather than his glove. Like, I guess, like, between his two hands, there's that little bit of stick there. Like, I guess
his shaft.
The shaft. I didn't want to say it. But yeah, I guess, like, I think they reviewed it, but, like, it seemed like it was really quick.
Yeah.
Like, they, like, showed the replay once, and they're like, it's going to be a close play. And then the play was going on. They're like, I guess it's a good goal. Like, it just seemed like it was really quick. So, anyways, that's the way it went down. So they really tightened up on defense then. I can't remember. I think it was about 13 minutes or something to go when Stamkos got that one. So they really sat back then and, just
sit on the lead, man.
Yeah,
Let
just-
Vassy do his thing.
just sat on that lead. Obviously, he was really good. So they squeaked out the win there. So that was it. So Tampa loses the first two games and then wins 4 straight. So kind of a really, really gentleman's sweep.
Yeah. I was talking to my sister because she was really heavy on the Rangers this series, and all playoffs. I was talking to her, I was like, I'll be surprised if Tampa comes back, wins in 6, and sure enough, it happened. And she was not having it at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Old Vassy brick wall, man.
before we start Stanley Cup final here, the preview, who's your Conn Smyth pick right now, assuming no games happen in Stanley Cup final? At this point, say the season's over, who do you got? I'm gonna take Cale Makar. Just because, man, this guy is so young.
Yeah, you almost got to take one from each
One,
team.
yeah.
Well, the standout for me is Cale Makar.
Yeah.
Man, he's so young. 22 points in 14 games against Kucherov's 23 and 17.
And again, going back to how many, like, they played less games too, as you just said. So, and a D-man too.
Yes, like, and you got the best player of all time, Wayne Gretzky, comparing you to Bobby Orr.
Yeah.
And you're like 4 seasons in.
Another all-time great.
It's like, God damn, man.
Yeah.
You just, the way he skates and the way he handles the puck, like, I would say he'd be a top 10 forward in the league if he played forward.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Without a doubt.
I've got no issue with him from the Colorado side. From the Tampa side, Max touched on it, like, when he said only earlier to the points. I mean, you got to give the nod to Vasilevsky with all these closeout games. I mean, he just turns on. It's like a light switch. He just turns it on. It's like, okay. It's like he takes a break or something. He's like, all right, I'm going to take it seriously now. And then he just really just plays out
Just
his
zones
mind.
in, his eyes open up that extra
It's
inch.
crazy vision he's got, and just, I know this is going back a couple of years, but again, with the 8 closeout games, 6 shutouts, I mean, he's just there in the biggest moments. I think the team is able to do so much because they're so reliant on how good he is on the back end that they're okay taking some chances sometimes and just knowing that they got such a Tampa Bay is so good on all levels.
Yeah.
You know, with the offense, I mean, they got one of the best defensemen in the whole world.
Yeah.
And Hedman and just like great depth on both offense and defense, and then as we said earlier, probably the best goaltender on the planet.
Yeah.
You know, but anyways, I think he's just a big core of that team that makes them just gives them that confidence.
Yeah, the way they shut down games, like especially when they're up, like they just keep everything to the outside. And if you do that for Vasilevsky with his crazy vision, like he's just going to eat everything up every day of the week. Like,
so who's been the most important player so far in the playoffs for you? Most valuable?
For Tampa, has been Vasilevsky. Like Shane has touched on, the closeout games, had a few shutouts, and only allowed 1 goal in 2 games. Yeah, which is unreal. And Colorado side, Cale Makar, and well, you said if it stops right now, it would be Cale Makar, but depending how McKinnon's series goes, it could still be him.
He's a very close second. I almost said him.
Yeah,
it was a very especially like
he's had the impactful goals.
The quality
he has,
goals again. Going back to that St. Louis one, it's just like it's not the only one he had like that. Like
it's just he's playing with a force.
Yeah.
He's so fast.
People give McDavid
Connor
the
McDavid's
god
the same way.
Yeah.
Like he picks it up by his own net, and you just know he ain't passing.
No,
No.
when he starts doing crossovers, it's over.
You just tell by his second stride, like they're going.
And the thing about McKinnon when he's skating too is it's not like McDavid where it looks so graceful. It looks so powerful as he's going. He just looks like a freaking
I feel like
going up
his
the ice.
legs are like trunks.
Oh,
Yeah,
they
like
are.
Crosby.
Yeah,
just
same as Crosby.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
insane.
I mean, it's a tight race. I think coming down to it, but I think it's almost tight between those two, which is funny because again they're on opposite sides. So, I mean, it probably comes down to just who wins the series, and then whoever is going to get the edge there.
Yep.
And I mean, obviously, this is the main series. So if Colorado wants to win, Makar probably has to play his best. Tampa Bay wants to win. Vasilevsky certainly has to play his best.
Yeah.
Because if he's not, I mean, Colorado
Kucherov
can put up 8 on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So again, as we've seen. So yeah, now we'll get into our prediction. I mean, this is before we actually give what we think in terms of games and whatnot. Now we can kind of get into the analysis, and John can talk about a scoring table because again, we were talking about this before we got on. There's so many different angles that you could play at as to why you want to pick a certain team. Max and I have our decision. John seems like he was still on the fence as we're coming on. I think I might know what way he's going. I think he might have talked himself into it over the past hour. So let's kind of get into the matchups first before we actually give some of our analysis. So let's just kind of go through your scoring table, John. We'll kind of talk about some of the advantages you had.
So this is your regular season totals. So Colorado goals for 308 versus 285 for Lightning. So I give them the edge there offensively. Goals against, it's a wash. You got 230 for Colorado, 228 for the Lightning. Basically the exact same.
Yeah.
Shots per game, Max said Colorado's up to 40 now.
Yeah.
When they were second in the league with 35 to begin with. They get the edge here.
And that was Florida who was first, right?
Yeah, right now they have the edge by 8.2. It's 40.7 to 32.5 in the playoffs.
Yeah, so Tampa gives up 30 shots a game. Colorado, 32 shots a game. Wash. Okay? Power play percentage, penalty kill percentage, exact same. 24% on power play, 80% in the penalty kill. Giveaways per game, these are like two of the top teams in the league. 5.42 for Tampa, 6.35 for Colorado.
That sounds really low, too.
Mm-hmm.
It's very, very low.
Yeah.
You
That's
got teams
crazy.
like Calgary, these super talented teams where they're all finesse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those teams are up at like 9, 10, 11. Like the Leafs led the league with almost 12.
Yeah.
Takeaways, these two teams near the top 10. 6.6 for Tampa, 7 for Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
So they're right there, neck and neck.
Yeah.
And as for big player factor,
This was really where our debate was.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is, I mean, like, let's break it down onto 3 tiers. Like, offensively, where do you even start?
For me, your two top guys,
You almost
McKinnon.
want to wash out the first line.
Yeah, just say
Yeah.
McKinnon, Kucherov.
Yeah.
Talent-wise and defensively, I'm going to give McKinnon the edge. But offensively, you got to say Kucherov is right there with him, if not better.
And another thing too, 3-point playoff games in the past, or no, since the lockout,
You have Kucherov with 20, Crosby with 16, Malkin with 16, McKinnon with 12, Draisaitl with 11.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like right there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you got Stamkos, the ultimate leader, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to be putting him up in the conversation with Joe Sakic, Johnny Taves,
Sid Crosby.
Crosby, all these guys after this run. It's just been phenomenal. And the fact that we don't know what would happen with him prior to these cups because he's injured. He broke his leg. He did all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
And, like, you know.
And he's still a point per game player. Like, that's absurd. Like, before.
More than that now, he's like, 1.25 points per game. He had 106 points, 81 games.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
So him and Landeskog was at the exact same pace, but he had surgery at the end of the season, missed almost 30 games. So they were on the same pace, wash. Great leaders, great defensive players. Let's move on. You got Point and Rantanen. I'm going to give Rantanen the edge there. I feel like he's way more dangerous.
He's way more dangerous, but two-way game in defensive zone, I'd give Point the edge there, especially on face-offs as well. He's like a 50.
Rantanen's right wing.
Yeah, I know, but like...
So,
Yeah.
You talk about value, yes, you might be able to say that, but then McKinnon's unreal on face-offs, and so is Landeskog.
Mm-hmm.
So, to me, that's kind of a... Comparing these two players kind of doesn't apply for me, but... and we'll get to Kadri. And who's your fourth guy for Tampa? Kadri, he might not be here for the series, but he may come back Game 5. Who knows?
Yeah.
Just his regular season, we'll compare.
Offensively, I'll put Palat there. Just
Probably
because
Palat.
Yeah, because
So Palat had 49 points in 77 games this season, when Kadri had 87 in 71.
Yeah, playoffs.
He almost doubled points.
That's mine, but I didn't even know he was.
Palat has 16 this playoffs. Kadri has 14
in 14 games.
Yeah.
So he'd be right there with him. He is right
definitely.
there with him.
Yeah.
And then you got, from here on out, you got Burakovsky at 61 points. You got Devin Taves at 57 points. Natushkin at 52.
Well, okay, I left out D-Man because when you said who's the fourth, the first one that came to mind to me was Hedman.
Yes.
But I didn't mention him because I wanted to go offensive, defense.
I agree. So you got Cale Makar and Hedman. Of course, Cale Makar, probably the smartest D-man in the entire league when it comes to corner battles. He leads all the NHL in won corner battles, and he's not even the size of.
No, he's just so
Hedman.
quick with a stick.
He's so quick and he's so smart, and he uses his body for leverage so much. So offensively,
His edge
obvious,
so good, too.
Makar gets it for me against Hedman.
Yeah.
Hedman's more your stay-at-home defenseman. Great on power play.
Yeah.
85 points this year.
Yeah.
Played every single game, so he's an Iron Man.
Yeah.
Defensively, I'm going to give it a wash just because how good Makar is.
I have no issue with that.
Then you got to go. Who's your second best defenseman on that team on Tampa? You got Sergachev.
Sergachev.
Who again isn't like lighting up.
Yeah.
He's
the
your
net a whole
defensive
lot,
guy.
but yeah, it's
Better, two-way Sergachev. Defensively, it'd be Chernak and Jan Ruda. They just got a lot of defensive guys, and McDonough as well.
So you're looking at not Johnny Taves, but Devin Taves.
Yeah.
57 points, 66
Who
games.
again is more likely to on the offensive side.
Yeah.
Then you got
Who's had an impact on
Gerard and Byram. I don't know if Gerard's going to be here for the series.
Gerard's out for the rest of the playoffs, yeah.
For the rest of the playoffs.
Because
So then you got
Byram.
Byram.
Sternum. He has to get surgery on that, I believe.
And Byram had 17 points in 30 games. He had a concussion that kept him out for the entire season.
Yeah. He's looked good in playoffs.
He's looked great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So for me, and then you got the depth guys. You're talking Lankinen. You're talking Newhook. You're talking Comfer. These guys are all half point per game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you got the depth there for
Tampa as well, especially in the playoffs. Ross Colton
Sorelli,
has 6 or 7 goals.
Colton, Perry, Maroon.
They're
These
all
guys,
getting key goals.
Again, guys who've
Hagel's stepped it
been
up a
there
little bit,
too.
they're experienced.
Oh,
They got
a lot
more
of these
experience
guys.
than the
Yeah.
depth for Colorado.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I'll give Tampa the edge there.
Yeah, the line of Hagel, Sorelli, and Killorn has been phenomenal defensively. Like, they've spent way more time in the offense. They're not scoring, but they've spent more time in the ozone what they have in their own end.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when I think about even to a finals recently that Tampa lost in 2015 to Chicago, Killorn was such a force.
Yeah, he led their team in points that year, I believe.
He was so good. I feel like watch for him to step up this series, and I feel like it's going to come down to that depth on either team, especially offensively.
Yeah.
like, again, if Confer's scoring timely goals, if Sorelli's doing stuff, if, God forbid, Pat Maroon, like, he always gets a goal. It seems like he's always in an important moment.
that third
or
line,
Corey Perry.
Corey Perry. I mean, how many times
on their
does
third
he
line
pot
now with
timely
Nick Paul
goals,
and
you know?
I'm telling you, he was a massive reason. Him and Eric Stahl last year for Montreal, they led that team.
They did.
I don't care how many young, talented kids you got. You need the men
You
to
always
lead.
got to have that veteran there who can still score a bit, too.
And that was two of the
That's
boys.
obviously what they're capable of. So, my interesting matchup now at this point, I mean, fair to say without getting too much into the analysis that Tampa has the goaltending advantage. I don't think regardless of who plays, unless they're geting Patrick Waugh to come back from 0-2 or something.
Or you getting Carey Price out of injury.
No, but I just mean because he played for Colorado, Patrick Waugh.
Right.
Unless you're calling him back up. But anyways, I mean, if you're going to give Colorado the edge offensively, okay, I'll say it this way. What's your X factor now? Seeing as we're gone through all the advantages,
I'm going to say Frank Coos.
It could be
Frank
goaltending
Coos
matchup.
yeah.
It could be special teams. It could be we were talking about before we came on, like Sorelli versus the top line of Colorado defensively, who has home ice. Like, so what's the X factor going in? I'll say, how can Colorado's depth do against Vasilevsky?
Yeah, I feel like in game 1 and 2, the Sorelli and McKinnon matchup is not going to be seen very much, just because you got that line change, because like you can just dump
change.
Yeah, that's not going to be seen too much.
I do have one note. Tampa has given twice as many penalties this playoff as Colorado. They have 200.
Is that on a per game basis or total? Because again,
this is total.
Tampa played.
Yeah, mainly in the
but
Toronto
look at this
series,
difference.
but it's dropped off a bit. But
203 penalty minutes so far in 17 games. Colorado 90 in 14.
That is a lot. Yeah,
It is double.
Yeah,
right, over double.
Yeah.
You know, 3 games don't make up that difference.
No.
And they've all been minor penalties, except for 2. So you add 10 minutes there. But still, like, Tampa cannot do that against Colorado.
No.
Colorado's leading the playoffs right now with 30% on the power play.
It's 31.1 right now. Yeah.
So to
Tampa's
me, that's a
22.
secondary X factor. For me, it's the goaltending matchup because both of these teams can get shots on net and have chances, right?
Yeah, and if Frank Coos is Colorado's goalie for games 1 and maybe 2, I don't like their chances.
So that's kind of my reasoning too. So if you look at, I say Colorado's offense versus Vasilevsky, on the sense that if Colorado's going to have 8 more shots a game, that's great. But are you going to score more too? Because if you're going to take 40 on Vasilevsky and get 2 and give up 33 shots, can the other goalie not give up 3? That's the difference, right? Because then you're in a 3-2 game versus, okay, if everything's equal and we're going to get the same amount of shots each, Tampa has the advantage.
Yeah.
Right? Because based on the goaltending, but that's not going to be the case based on how much Colorado shoots.
Yeah, and their team
What's
defense
the differential actually?
Yeah.
We know what it is by average, but what's the actual turnout?
Yeah.
God damn. This
series
is
gonna be
like
nuts.
we just went through the big player factor, and coming out of it, we got 2-2 on the scoring table. Everything else is even. Colorado gets the nod in goals for and shots, and shots against for Tampa, and let me pull it up here, and giveaways, giveaways. They're right there, takeaways. The only 2 that are not even, or the only 4 that are not even out of 8, is goals for, giveaways, and shots. That's it.
The only other X factor that comes to mind that we didn't touch on, any of us, and I'm surprised we never to this point, is experience.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard to say experience is going to play such a role at this point because, I mean,
You got her.
St. Louis is more experienced than Colorado. They still beat them. Now, they give them their best shot so far.
Yeah.
So, say that for what it is. But, I mean, I don't think Colorado's going into this game any more nervous than what they've been in any other game. They played fine.
Yeah.
But it is the finals. They've never been here. So are they more nervous going into it? Probably.
I can see this impacting game one.
And they're at home.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit more pressure, too. You got your fans maybe on the road. I don't know. What do you think would be worse? Being at home if you're really nervous or being on the road? Because
there's a thing.
You're kind of playing with house money if you're on the road a little bit. At home, I feel like you got a bit more pressure.
If we had this conversation about Golden State and Boston, in the NBA Finals.
Mhm.
I would say Boston is more dangerous because they don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't think about anything like that. It's just we're here and
You can't be scared of the unknown.
exactly. You don't even know what not to do and what to do, so you're just gonna do it. You're gonna do what you're capable of doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like game 1 and game 2 is gonna be like that. Might show experience-wise, but as it comes down the home stretch of the series, I don't think it's gonna be an issue.
Yeah, I don't think, like, say, if we're 2-2 heading into game 5, experience is going to be the edge. It might. Well,
It might be.
I don't even
think
know
so.
how you can quantify it at
Yeah.
that point. I think if Tampa just completely steamrolls them, and by steamroll I mean like 5 games or something, then you can say, okay, I probably played a factor.
Yeah.
But I think, again, I don't think any of us are picking that, so we'll save that, I guess. But I mean, this is razor thin. I mean, I feel like if they've played this finals out 10 times, it would almost be 5-5.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you just get into the picks or what? I'll go first.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything else. I mean, we really tore it apart. So let's get
Well,
it.
before we do that, who is your Conn Smyth pick? Who do you think is going to have the most impact on this and has had an impact?
I'll say that before my pick because, like I said,
Okay.
I think
I'll do the same.
I think there's 2 that are there for each team
so far.
and like I said, my pick for that will really be based on who I pick to win.
Yeah.
So I'll leave that for just before. So you can start us off now.
So I'm going to go Colorado in 7. Colorado in 7. Like I said, I don't think this moment is too big for Makar. I think he's going to show up. He might have 11 points in 7 games. Like, it would be insane.
It's crazy to think about. I think if that happens, because let it be known, it's not out of the realm to have the losing team get the Conn Smyth. It's not. It's happened. If he does at that point have 30 some odd points,
35,
and they lose in game 7 in a tight game, you're not gonna be like, well, they lost, so screw him. Like, don't be shocked.
35 points in 21 games, assuming it's 7.
And to lose in a game 7, like, geez, you were that close to winning it. I mean, what is one loss?
Yeah. From
the team affect it. So he could, if that happens, I think he gets it regardless.
And I feel like him growing up, like the last couple years, he's been fresh. He's been phenomenal still, but now he's a little more experienced, and I think that's what put this team over the top.
Yeah.
It's just him just imposing his will defensively and offensively. I think that's been the major thing for them. McKinnon's always been a performer. Always there in points per game, playoff history. He's always phenomenal. He's Crosby, you know?
Yeah.
But Makar, I think, really put him over the top in this.
On the Conn Smyth note, too, like, if that does happen, and he does have 11 or 12 points in 7 games, and they win, like, his competition, in our opinion, was Vasilevsky. If he's getting 12 points on him in 7 games, Vasilevsky probably didn't have a great series.
He probably had a mid-tier series. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that probably puts him ahead anyways. So, again, if they were to lose in Game 7, I mean, I can't imagine a way he wouldn't win it.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah. So, that's my pick.
All right.
Oh, silence. Who we got?
I do have Tampa in 6. So, I'll take Vasilevsky as Conn Smyth. Mostly because I feel it can be very similar to the Ranger series. I think I do expect Tampa to win one of the first 2 in Colorado. Again, that's most likely where the nerves are going to play in, so I did factor in that. I do think that, again, where they haven't been the home ice team at all throughout the playoffs, that this is right up their wheelhouse. They've been here 3 times before already. I don't think
I do agree with that.
And even if they do go down 2-0, it just happened.
Yeah.
And they were able to still do it in 6. I say 6 with the likelihood of them being at home. I wouldn't surprise me at all if this goes 7 and they win it there. It could certainly happen. If it goes to Game 7, we're flipping a coin anyways. Again, I mean, with the big player factor, it's so close. I just think the biggest mismatch is the goaltending. So, I mean, that's really what I'm banking on here. I think a lot of it's going to cancel each other out. I think the special teams can cancel each other out. I think the home ice can cancel each other out because they're just going to be going back and forth anyways.
Yeah.
I expect both teams to win a road game at some point. I mean, this is, and I do expect it to be 2-2 after 4, and I think I'll take Tampa to win in Game 5. similar to what they did to Rangers. It's going to be 2-2. Tight game 5, steal 1, then you're going home with all that momentum. You capitalize on it. That's just how I see it going. I think it could be very close. I could see Colorado winning that game 6, even after losing that game 5, and it's still going 7.
Mm-hmm.
It was tight, man. It's took a little while to make this pick, but and again, home ice isn't so big in hockey either as it is in some sports. So it is tough to say. I'm picking him at home. A lot of me wants to say 7, but I'll go with 6 just for the home ice factor. But I don't know. It's really tough. I'm really basing it more so than anything else on the goaltending.
Yeah, I got Tampa Bay in 6. I feel like Vasilevsky's going to win the Conn Smyth. He's at .928 save percentage right now. I could see that increasing to like .932, .935. And like, I just think of the amazing offenses that Tampa has beat this playoffs. You got Toronto, Florida, and the Rangers. And you got to add the 2 amazing goaltenders that they've played, Bobrovsky and Shesterkin, who are both better than both goaltenders that the Avalanche have. And I just feel like Tampa's team defense is just keeping everything outside. I feel like it's going to be too much for the Avalanche to handle. Like, yes, they will get a couple games probably at home, then Tampa wins 2 at home, and then they'll just get the other 2 at Colorado and then in Tampa as well.
So you see it going the same way.
Yeah, I see it going
Rangers.
in 6, yeah. Same thing as Rangers, yeah.
Yeah, I fully expect Tampa to win 1 in Colorado.
Yeah,
so if it is
show,
2-0 Colorado after 2, I'll feel a lot less confident in that.
Yeah,
saying if they're going to win the next 4 straight, but
yeah.
I don't think any offense that they've played is compared to this team. I don't think it's close.
I think it was a good point that I haven't thought of, like especially the offenses they play.
But like,
and
I feel
the
like it's
goaltending
prepared
they
them
play.
for it though.
Yeah.
That's all the team strengths that they've played is their offense. Maybe not the Rangers. Like they've mainly got outshot most of the season, but their big guys have like came up to play in the postseason, like Zibanejad, Panarin, Kopp, Strome, all those guys, and they just come out, shut them down gradually, grind them down, and take over the games and get those clutch goals from like Palat, Colton, Stamkos, Kucherov. They just got so many amazing playoff performers there. Like Kucherov has over 100 points in playoffs in his career. Hedman has over 100 points in playoffs in his career. Stamkos and Palat are creeping on 90, and you got Killorn that's sitting at like 60 or 70.
Yeah, I think too when it comes to like the teams that they've played already. I agree with you, John, to the point where it's not the same as the teams they played in terms of probably superstar names and speed. I think Colorado's speed is just unmatched.
Yeah, their pace of play is
anybody in the league that can go stride for stride with them. But I will say that in terms of high shot output and goal scoring, Florida was ahead of Colorado.
Yeah.
And they made it look easy. They only scored 3 goals in the entire series. So they can handle the high shot output and neutralize it.
Yeah.
But can they neutralize it with that speed?
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Yeah.
So I think that's it, guys.
That's it.
I mean, it was a tough one. I mean, like I said, you can flip a coin. I think if they played 10 times, it'd be 5 each. I mean, it's
It's
so
gonna be
hard.
a great series.
Yeah, I know Max and myself picked 6, but I mean, I don't think
I could see
anybody
it going
here
to
is
7
surprised if it goes
easily,
to 7, and honestly, it should. I want it to.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Just for the entertainment factor, of course. But I mean, Jesus, this is like had to be the betting favorite going into this year, and this is all what it led to. I mean, this is exactly. I mean, if you're a hockey fan, this is a good one.
You know, last year's Stanley Cup Final was just a letdown for any NHL fan.
Yeah.
For me, it was the greatest run I've ever witnessed. Like, for the Habs, like, they shouldn't have even been in the playoffs. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And Carey Price, buddy, just carried them all the way. But it won the contest.
No.
The finals, it was gross. Yeah. Absolutely gross.
It was disgusting.
Montreal won their Stanley Cup in Game 4 when they made it 3-1.
Yeah.
That was it. They celebrated like crazy. Kucherov made the point in the press conference. Look at them. They just won their Stanley Cup, and it's going to be over next game. Like, and he was right. I hated him for it, but you know, got to give him credit for the confidence. They just knew it was done, right? Obviously, but this year, now we've got the 2 juggernauts. This is what you want.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, this is, and you said it's juggernauts. It's 2 giants just going at it. I mean, it's like a car crash, you know, like it's just it's you know, the violence, you know, like that's something else we never really talked about. Like, who's more? Because like again, Colorado hasn't faced a whole lot of like long series.
No, they haven't.
So they're rested too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, does that play in? You know, they're like Tampa has. I feel like they've been grinding a little bit. Like even in the Florida series, it wasn't close, but it was more so because.
And when they've looked down and out, they come back and respond. Like they're just such a resilient team.
Mentally tough. Yeah,
they've got that callus built up over 3 years, man. I mean,
Jesus,
come on.
Yeah. All right, so I mean that's it, I guess. I mean, what is there to peel back in the layers of the onion that is juicy?
We got right to the core.
Yeah. I mean, we're right there. I mean, so I just want to note too that Max is sadly moving away for. God love him, he got a job somewhere, so he'll be moving away. Now, we won't stop doing this. We'll try to do some online, but it'll be our last one in person, I would imagine. We'll probably try to come back when the finals are over, but until now, this will be our last one in person. So the sound quality might get a bit crappier after this one. But
we'll make it work.
Yeah, it's all good. Definitely. So I think that's it, guys. Anything else before we hop off?
No, I'm good. I think we covered it, man.
We're all good. All right. So for Shane Stanley and John Apso, Max Hunt, thanks for listening. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And we'll catch you on the next NHL Roundup podcast.
Take it easy.
Later on, boys.
Peace out.